Hello, Bones here with Halloween movie suggestions. No, not Halloween movie reviews, but Halloween movie suggestions. I suggest anything with vampires. The Lost Boys, Bram Stoker's Dracula, or I don't know, maybe Twilight. The beautiful Charisma Carpenter. Tell us about the sexy seduction and allure of the vampire.
In a dark room, a shadowy figure meets your gaze. Eyes lock. You're mesmerized. Even before you realize it, razor-sharp fangs pierce the supple skin of your neck. It's not a dream. You've just been seduced by a vampire. The allure of a vampire is incredibly intoxicating, and of course, very sexy. It's no wonder that the mystique surrounding these immortal creatures has seduced us for generations. I'm Charisma Carpenter. Join me as we take a look at the lives, the loves, and our insatiable appetite for vampires.
The vampire is a very seductive creature because he or she embodies so many things we would really like, but might not like to admit to ourselves.
It's a monster that possesses qualities that I think most people wish that they had, to be stronger and healthier and never have to fear dying or decay or disease or death.
Every young guy, every young girl lusts after the physical ideal, the things that most of us can't get. And vampires represent that, and the idea that this thing is interested in you all of a sudden makes you feel special.
The powers of seduction and the way they're able to draw you in is so powerful that it's enticing to just let yourself go and be totally dominated by this experience.
You'll never grow old. You'll never die. But you must feed.
Ironically, it's human nature that we always seem to be drawn to the villain, don't we? It's always about the bad guy. We always appreciate the bad guy. Evil, as it were, is seductive.
Take the male vampire with the female who's innocent and wants to be corrupted a little bit, and then this vampire who knows so much more about the world, who knows so much more that they couldn't even imagine about the world, and that's enticing to a young woman. That traditionally is a role that men and women fall into.
As a female, we tend to look for someone who is a very dominating kind of father figure. So when you talk about a vampire as a very confident individual, because he lives both the dead and the real world, it's attractive.
You just lie here like a good piece of veal, and maybe I'll bring you a nice glass of warm milk.
There's a long tradition of the female vampire being presented as a courtesan or a gold digger who saps the male victim, not just sexually, but financially and morally and every other possible way.
Female vampires have been portrayed as really having that sex oozing out of them. They use that as a tool.
There is always an overpowering figure and a victim, whether it's a male as the overpowering conqueror or the female as the overpowering personality.
Red. The deep, rich color that symbolizes love and passion, as well as the life force that continually courses through our bodies. Blood. Not only is it essential for our being, it serves as the vampire's sole source of nourishment. Vampires take great care when selecting their next meal. The ever-resourceful vampire has perfected a powerful and potent game of seduction to ensnare even the most reluctant of prey.
And the way vampire hunts was used for a long time, at least during the Victorian era, as a metaphor for sexuality. That metaphor translates very well to today.
That's how they get their prey. They know how to go in and romanticize and capture their prey through sexuality.
It's usually somebody pretty sexy playing a vampire, and it's all about the seduction, kind of luring you in so that they can trick you, basically, into becoming their feed. So it's kind of a dance, it's a romance between the two.
The excitement of a vampire hunting, seducing their victim kind of parallels how we feel when we're dating or trying to seduce someone into bed. We like that chase as well. Don't let her catch you right away. Play it a little cool. Let the seduction play out, because that a lot of times is a really fun part of it.
If you have everlasting life, you've got to make a game of it. It has to be more than just sustenance, because you have to make your life interesting. If you can make a romance out of each of your kills, then that can be part of the game. So it can be something that you turn into much more than just a quest for blood.
They're playing on your emotions, they're playing on your weaknesses, on your sympathies to bring you in. And that's what vampires do.
He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. Perhaps forever. Eternal love or a forbidden passion. We are drawn to these sensual and powerful creatures, wanting to be with them and ultimately becoming one of them. From their ageless beauty and rugged good looks to their indulgent lifestyle, it seems we just can't help wanting to be with these creatures of the night. If Cupid used an arrow to win your heart, the vampire's bite will take your breath away.
The drinking of blood has many powerful symbolic connotations. The idea that you could absorb the strength or energy or other qualities of the person whose blood you drank. Poetically, it happens in the vampire bite.
It goes for the jugular, but in a very seductive, quasi-sexual way. And I think that that's really the duality of people, is what's dangerous is seductive.
The actual transference of blood, a lot of it has to do with very direct metaphors for sexuality. The blood is what signifies arousal when you blush or when your lips redden.
It's a very erotic act, and fantasies are made of things like this, sexual fantasies and romantic fantasies.
Blood is a life force, and there is something very erotic about the exchanging of life force. It's like you're putting your existence in someone else's hands.
It's about fusing that blood together. It's the marriage, if you will, of the bloodstreams, of the connection physically, which later becomes an eternal relationship.
Remember your promise to me. I just don't want to grow old. Sorry.
The allure of becoming a vampire is the classic Faustian bargain. In exchange for your soul, you have eternal life, you have eternal youth, you have unlimited riches and absolute power over the opposite sex or the same sex. What's not to like?
Let me bite you, and we can be together forever, and lovers forever. It's a quite romantic idea, although immortality obviously comes with a few asterisks.
Party all night, sleep all day, never grow old, never die. I think that's the allure.
It's fun to be a vampire. I mean, that's the long and the short of it. They may be like not who your mom wants you to bring home on a date, but guess what? They're having a good time, and if you hang out with them, you might have a good time.
Most of the time, the victims are missing something in life that the vampires can offer them, and it's a sense of belonging. It's a way to have meaning in the world around them and to take control of the world around them.
We have no control. We're at the mercy of everything else. The vampire's not at the mercy of anything.
Tales of vampires have proven to be as hard to kill as the vampires themselves. Today, we are witness to the public's enormous craving for more. Given their innate ability to transform with the times, vampires have managed to keep a hold of our imagination, much as Bram Stoker's original Dracula, published over 100 years ago.
Vampires are the perfect politicians because they have the ability to be everything to everybody, and therein lies their great longevity.
When they're done correctly, they really reflect the social and political mores of the time. They're always representative of what we're feeling. as a culture.
Now, if you go back through the history, there's always been vampire stories, and there's still vampire stories today. They're contemporary because they keep getting brought up and remade and reinvented, which really fits in well with the tradition of vampires, because the whole idea is that the vampire can live forever.
There's a lot of versatility to the idea of immortality, the feeding off of human blood that can go in so many directions: comedic, romantic, dramatic, horrific, all of those ways.
The vampire deals with love and sex and emotion and death, all things that we as humans have to deal with on a daily basis. He can't ever not be popular to some degree because we're writing about ourselves.
There's a Nightcrawler who's created a new designer drug that he's handing out to kids at raves. The only problem is it's not a drug. It's vampire blood.
What's interesting about the legend of the vampire these days, the contemporary vampire, is very anti-establishment and very young. Lost Boys was the first movie to do that.
Nobody else had ever thought of, mixing the idea of rock and roll, vampires, and comedy. I mean, what an interesting, kind of collaboration between three different worlds and blending them so nicely together.
These were the cool kids, the kind of group that you wanted to be a part of. Prior to that, vampires were older, they were of a different generation, but, when the first time I saw the original Lost Boys, I said, wow, this is a vampire movie that's made for me.
One of the things Lost Boys did is it took that isolation of the single vampire and it brought in the idea of the pack of vampires. But still there's isolation of that group from all the other groups.
I think it brought in the idea that outsiders could be a part of something, to be stronger than they appear, and I think that it revitalized the vampire mythos in a really timely, energetic way.
With the newest film in the trilogy, now with The Thirst, they've managed to find a way to make it appetizing and appealing for the current ravers and party scene.
Teenagers have always been one of the biggest audiences for horror entertainment and vampire films. And I don't think we'd have all the young adult vampire megasellers that we have today without the Lost Boys.
Vampires continue to entice and enthrall audiences with tales both tempting and terrifying. As long as the sun continues to set, the vampires will be out there, waiting patiently for the perfect moment to strike, leaving their indelible mark on us, our psyche, and our soul.
When people tell jokes, they're dead serious. But when they're serious, they're actually pretty funny. You, yes you, have a happier Halloween.